What happens when a billionaire's wife pushes the wrong person too far? In tonight's story, a powerful woman who's used to getting everything she wants makes one critical mistake. She underestimates a waitress who refuses to kneel. Stay until the end to see how this confrontation sets off a chain of events that will shake an empire to its core. Before we dive in, if you enjoy stories about justice, courage, and people standing up against impossible odds, please hit that like button and subscribe to our channel. This is our very first video, and your support, whether it's a like, a comment, or sharing this with someone who needs to hear it, could make all the difference in helping us grow. We promise to bring you powerful stories that matter. Now, let's begin. The command sliced through the refined atmosphere of Belmont Hall like a whip crack. Kneel. Isabella Hartfield stood at the VIP table, her posture rigid with authority, one manicured finger pointed down at the floor before her. Around them, nearly 200 diners froze mid-bite, conversations dying on their lips as they turned to witness whatever spectacle was about to unfold. The restaurant's crystal chandeliers cast glittering light across Isabella's face, highlighting the cold fury in her eyes. Before her stood Maya Collins, a black waitress whose white-knuckled grip on a linen napkin was the only visible sign of her inner turmoil. Drops of red wine still gleamed on the marble floor between them, evidence of what everyone assumed was a terrible accident. But Maya had watched the whole thing unfold. She'd seen Isabella deliberately shift her arm at the precise moment Maya had reached across to clear the appetizer plate. She'd watched the wine glass tip with theatrical perfection. She'd noted the calculated pause before Isabella's shriek of outrage. This was no accident. This was a performance. "I said kneel down and apologize," Isabella repeated, her voice dropping to a dangerous register that somehow carried to every corner of the dining room. "You've ruined my $15,000 Versace dress, and I expect proper contrition." Maya's throat tightened. She thought of her mother in the hospital bed 3 miles away, machines keeping her alive while medical bills climbed past $28,000. She thought of her apartment rent due in 5 days. She thought of the pride in her mother's voice when she'd said, "Baby, never let anyone make you smaller than you are." No. The word came out steady and clear, and Maya watched Isabella's perfectly made-up face flush crimson beneath her foundation. Around them, phones emerged from designer handbags and suit pockets. This was about to go viral, and everyone wanted to capture it. Isabella took a step closer, her Louboutin heels clicking against the floor like a countdown. "Excuse me? Did you just refuse me?" Her voice carried genuine shock, as if defiance was a foreign language she'd never encountered. "Do you understand who I am? My husband, Marcus Hartfield, owns the Hartfield Group. We have investments in half the businesses in this city." "I understand perfectly, Mrs. Hartfield," Maya replied, forcing herself to maintain eye contact even as her heart hammered against her ribs. "But I won't apologize for something I didn't do. I watched you move your arm deliberately when I reached for that plate. You staged this." The accusation hung in the air like smoke. Several nearby diners gasped. This was beyond mere insubordination. This was a service worker directly challenging the word of Isabella Hartfield, known throughout the city as a woman who destroyed careers for sport. Isabella's mouth fell open in theatrical disbelief. "How dare you," she breathed, then raised her voice to a shriek that made the glassware tremble. "How dare you accuse me of lying? This is absolutely unacceptable." She whirled around, scanning the crowd of onlookers until she found her target. Daniel Rhodes, where is the manager?" Daniel Rhodes materialized within seconds, a thin man in his 50s whose expression already showed which side he'd chosen before hearing a word of explanation. He'd been managing Belmont Hall for 12 years, long enough to understand that his career depended on keeping wealthy patrons happy, regardless of truth. "Mrs. Hartfield, I cannot apologize enough for this incident," he said, his hands clasped together as if in prayer. Then he turned to Maya, and his obsequious tone vanished, replaced by barely concealed contempt. "Collins, what have you done this time?" The question made Maya's blood run cold. This time, as if she had a history of problems, when in reality she'd worked at Belmont Hall for 10 months with nothing but excellent reviews and the highest tip averages of any server on staff. None of that mattered now. Mr. Rhodes, I didn't. I don't want to hear excuses, he interrupted, his voice growing louder for the benefit of their audience. Mrs. Hartfield is one of our most valued guests. The proper response is to apologize immediately and sincerely. Maya felt the weight of 200 pairs of eyes pressing down on her. She could see other servers watching from the kitchen doorway, their faces pale with fear and sympathy. She could see diners recording everything on their phones. Tomorrow, she'd be a trending topic. People would dissect her every word and judge her without knowing anything about her life, her struggles, or the truth of what happened here. But some things mattered more than going viral. I won't apologize for something I didn't do, Maya said quietly. If that means losing my job, then I lose my job. But I won't get on my knees and lie. Isabella's fury transformed into something worse, cruel delight. This was better than a simple apology. This was an opportunity for a lesson that everyone present would remember. Fire her. Isabella laughed, the sound harsh and ugly. Oh no, firing is far too simple. I want everyone in this room to understand what happens when people like her forget their place. The coded language wasn't subtle. Maya felt it like a physical blow, even as she kept her expression neutral. Around them, the recording phones captured every moment, but Maya knew how these videos would be edited, what narrative would be shaped from this footage. The uppity waitress. The entitled worker who thought she was too good to apologize. The comments section would be vicious. You people need to learn respect, Isabella continued, circling Maya like a predator toying with prey. You need to understand that there are consequences for stepping out of line, for daring to challenge those who give you employment, who allow you to make a living serving your betters. Each word was chosen deliberately, each phrase crafted to cut. Maya's hands trembled slightly, the only visible crack in her composure. But she didn't drop her eyes. She didn't flinch away. She thought of her mother's voice. Dignity isn't given, baby. It's something you carry inside, and nobody can take it unless you hand it over. Daniel Rhodes cleared his throat, sensing his moment to seize control of the situation. Collins, you're suspended effective immediately. Clean out your locker and leave the premises. Security will escort you out. 2 security guards appeared as if summoned, their presence designed to add a final layer of humiliation. Maya could see other servers averting their eyes, ashamed of their own silence, but too afraid to risk their own livelihoods. She understood. Solidarity was a luxury when bills needed paying. Isabella smiled triumphantly, already composing the story she'd tell at her next charity luncheon. The defeated waitress would become an amusing anecdote, a cautionary tale about knowing one's place in the natural order of things. But as the guards moved to flank her, Maya looked directly into Isabella Hartfield's cold eyes and saw something the billionaire's wife was too arrogant to recognize. Not defeat, but calculation. Not submission, but strategy. This isn't over, Maya said quietly, the words carrying a weight that made Isabella's smile falter for just a heartbeat. As Maya walked toward the exit, her spine straight and head high despite the whispers following her, she clutched the napkin tighter in her hand. Hidden in its folds was something Isabella couldn't see, an embroidered detail that revealed who Maya Collins really was. Dr. Maya Collins, MBA, Harvard Business School. The room full of people thought they'd just witnessed a destruction. They had no idea they'd actually watched the opening move in a game Isabella Hartfield didn't even know she was playing. That night, Maya sat across from her mother in their small apartment, rain drumming against the windows. Grace Collins looked fragile in her faded robe, chemotherapy having stolen weight from her frame, but her eyes still held fire. "Tell me everything, baby," Grace said, reaching across their kitchen table with hands that trembled slightly. Maya recounted the evening's events, watching her mother's expression shift from concern to pride to quiet fury. When she finished, Grace was silent for a long moment. "That woman thinks she can break you because of what she sees on the surface," Grace finally said. "She doesn't know who she's dealing with, does she?" "No, Mama. She doesn't." Maya pulled out her laptop, the same one that had carried her through Harvard before her mother's illness forced her to drop everything and take whatever work paid immediately. Her fingers moved across the keyboard with muscle memory, pulling up search engines and databases. Information was power, and Maya had spent years learning how to weaponize data. The first hour revealed the expected: society pages, charity events, political donations. But as Maya dug deeper, cracks appeared in the Hartfield empire's perfect facade. Marcus Hartfield's investment firm had been flagged by regulators twice in 18 months. There were whispers on business forums about liquidity problems. 3 civil suits had been settled quietly out of court. Interesting, Maya murmured, building a file that would have impressed her old professors. Her phone buzzed. A text from Jordan Lee, her study partner from Harvard who now worked as a forensic accountant. Asterisk, saw the video. You okay? Also, FYI, you might want to look into Hartfield Group's quarterly reports. Things don't add up. Asterisk. Maya's pulse quickened. She typed back, "What kind of things?" The response came quickly, the kind that get SEC attention. "Can't say more in text. But be careful, Maya. These people play dirty." The next morning, Maya woke to find her suspension upgraded to termination via text message. Daniel Rhodes couldn't even fire her in person. But as she deleted the message, another notification caught her eye. A news alert about Hartfield Group stock dropping 15% in after-hours trading. The timing was too convenient. Someone was dumping shares, and smart money was running for the exits before whatever scandal was brewing became public. Maya screenshot the article and added it to her growing file. 3 days later, Maya stood outside Belmont Hall wearing her old uniform, a calculated risk that could end in arrest, but might provide the evidence she needed. She'd called in a favor from Carmen Diaz, one of the few servers brave enough to maintain contact, who'd gotten her onto the staff for Isabella's private dinner party. The event was invitation only. 15 of the city's power brokers gathered to discuss what the invitation cryptically called mutually beneficial investment opportunities. Maya adjusted her name tag and checked her hidden recording device. Tonight, she would gather the evidence needed to dismantle an empire, one recorded confession at a time. The private dining room hummed with the kind of conversation that happened when people believed themselves safely insulated from consequences. Isabella held court at the table's head, resplendent in a navy gown, regaling guests with tales of recent triumphs. The beauty of international banking, Isabella was saying as Maya refilled water glasses with practiced invisibility, is that money becomes wonderfully fluid. It can dance between accounts, appearing here, disappearing there, always in motion. The guests chuckled knowingly while Maya's recording device captured every word. Marcus Hartfield, Isabella's husband, launched into an explanation of shell company creation. The key is layering. Company A owns Company B, which partners with Company C. By the time anyone tries to trace ownership, the trail leads to a post office box in Grand Cayman. Casual admission of what amounted to conspiracy hung in the air like expensive perfume, overwhelming and obvious, yet completely ignored by everyone except the woman serving their wine. Isabella's voice cut through the murmur. "Speaking of fluid arrangements, Marcus and I have decided our more liquid assets need an extended European vacation, at least until this unfortunate SEC investigation resolves itself." She said it with the casual confidence of someone who'd never faced real consequences. The guests nodded, several pulling out phones to presumably make similar arrangements. Maya's hands remained steady as she served the next course, but her mind raced. Isabella Hartfield had just confessed to obstruction of justice and money laundering in front of 15 witnesses. Then Marcus's voice carried a note of frustration. "These inspector types think they're clever, but construction is a relationship business. Sometimes you need to encourage certain relationships to flourish." The meaning was crystal clear. Bribery as common as charity galas. Isabella laughed, raising her wine glass. To creative problem-solving and flexible interpretations of bureaucratic guidelines. The glasses clinked together in a symphony of complicity. But as Maya leaned over to refill Isabella's glass, the billionaire's wife glanced up. Recognition flickered across her face like lightning. "Wait," Isabella said slowly, her voice cutting through the chatter. "I know you. You're that waitress. The rude one from the other night." The room fell silent. All eyes focused on Maya, trapped in the spotlight. Her cover was blown, but the recording device had already captured enough evidence to destroy everyone at this table. Security. Isabella's shriek shattered the elegant atmosphere. This woman was fired, and now she's obviously here to cause trouble. The guests began murmuring among themselves, confusion mixing with alarm. Maya felt her pulse spike as heavy footsteps approached from the hallway. But before the security guards could reach her, Maya did something that shocked everyone in the room. She smiled. Not a nervous smile or an apologetic one, but a smile of someone holding all the cards. "Actually, Mrs. Hartfield," Maya said calmly, pulling the recording device from her pocket and holding it up for everyone to see, "I think you'll want to hear what I have to say before you have me removed." The red recording light blinked steadily in the candlelight, a tiny beacon that suddenly represented the destruction of everything Isabella Hartfield had built. "Because this device just captured every single confession you and your guests made tonight. And I have a feeling the SEC would be very interested in hearing it." Isabella's face drained of color. Around the table, 15 of the city's most powerful people realized simultaneously that their carefully constructed lives were about to collapse. What happens next will shock you. Will Maya escape with the evidence, or will Isabella's power crush her before she can expose the truth? Will justice prevail, or will money and influence win again? Subscribe to our channel and hit that notification bell so you don't miss part 2, where everything comes to a head in ways you won't see coming. And if you enjoyed this story, please hit the like button and leave a comment letting us know what you think Maya should do next. Your support means everything to us. See you in part 2.